Welcome to the Tailoring Talk show with me, your host, Roberto Revilla. I'm a bespoke tailor, menswear designer, and owner of Roberto Revilla London Suit and Shirt Makers. This is the podcast where you drop in for the threads, but often leave with something quite unexpected. I talk to self-starters and creators about their journeys, the highs and lows, and the lessons they've learned along the way. If you haven't already, please support the show by subscribing. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please help me out by leaving a rating and a review. Today's guest is the founder of Polypay. Polypay provide businesses with a partner who offers them honesty, transparency, customer support, and savings for merchant processing. She brings a knowledge base of over a decade of owning a company, as well as working in the financial services space. She's a wealth of resource to those of you who might be looking to become an entrepreneur, as well as bringing a unique perspective on how to increase customer retention and look at businesses and services from the customer point of view. Originally from Bloomfield Hills in Michigan, she now resides in Arroyo Grande in California and Columbus, Ohio, with her 15-year-old rescue terrier, Spike. Tailoring Talkers, please join me in welcoming Jamie Barlett to the Tailoring Talk show. Jamie, how are you?
I'm just lovely. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Now, I have a question to ask you. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Wait, all right. I'm ready. Okay. Yes.
Do you play euchre?
No, I love cards, but no, I don't play euchre. No, I love poker. That's been my big thing is poker. And I remember in sixth grade, my teacher taught me one-handed solitaire. I used to play that all the time. But no, why? Do tell.
Because I was once told, not that long ago, actually about an hour ago, that if I ever met anyone from Michigan, that I should ask if they played euchre, because apparently it's a Michigan thing.
I must know the context for this conversation you had. Why was it someone from a Michigander, as they said, or?
No, where's Eric from? I should know because only interviewed. He's from Indiana.
Right.
And then I just mentioned that because he said something about the States, and I said my next guest is actually originally from Michigan, but splits her time between Ohio and California. And he said she'll be really impressed. This is
I've ruined that now, haven't I?
Yeah, you've completely. Yeah, I know. You've taken the jam
Eric,
out.
Wherever you are, I'm sorry. It's been debunked.
Totally took the jam out of my donut. But he said that you'd be super impressed if I asked that question.
I am so sorry. Forgive me. No, I like cards in general. So 50-50 on that answer, Eric. Sorry. No, I have always I did want to learn. I'll say that. But yes, maybe because it's just so damn cold over there. We sit inside and play cards. I don't know, but I do love cards. So I'm sorry, Eric, wherever you are, I'll give you a B on that. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I will as well. I feel cheated. But yeah, there we go. So there's something that you touched on actually in our pre-put. Obviously, you started your own business, Polypay. You've opened a second location now. Mm-hmm. How has that been for you in recent years? And then after that, I'm going to just take you back to when you started a business and, kind of how you got there.
Sure. I bought a home out here in Columbus. I had always wanted to come back to where my family was. And that was about 2 years ago. And I thought it was just going to be a place to just come back and visit family and whatnot. And then I kind of thought about, well, maybe I can expand because we were doing quite well anyway, being in California and being in, at that time, about 8 states, I'd say. And I thought this will just be, to be close to family and whatnot. And I thought, well, what if we just sort of, see what the landscape's like here? And, as we discussed earlier, the Midwestern approach and attitude is very welcoming. So it's been very successful for us in the past couple years. And I almost liken it to, Robert, like a do-over. It's like I cut my teeth on all the mistakes I made in, years and years ago. And it's like you get to start over in a whole new place, but you have this whole quiver of skills that you can pull out and deal with any issues now. So it's kind of like getting a do-over, but you already have like 5 degrees in what to do and not do. So it's definitely exploded the growth in this part of the area for us, definitely, just because we know the hurdles, we know what to look for now. So that's been the fun part, to see how quickly we can accelerate.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I actually, sorry, now I'm gonna completely go off on a tangent because I'm really curious. Just because he sat next to me, but Bailey is my rescue dog.
Yes.
He's a Cocker Spaniel.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about Spike.
Oh my gosh, Spike, I need to update my information. He's 16 now, which I can't believe. Yeah, so he is a rescued Silky that actually wandered onto my friend's property. I was actually over in Seattle visiting a friend, and he wandered up from the road, and he had, like, it was horrible, Robert. He had kind of bits of a trash bag on him. Somebody must have thrown him out on the road, and he fought his way out of this little trash bag. So I just was blown away. I hadn't had a dog in years. I had a Westie growing up, a West Town Wet Terrier, and I hadn't, I was in my late 20s, early 30s at that time almost, and I hadn't a dog since I was 13. And I thought, God, I can't do this. But I think the universe sort of tells you. And he was just this curious little, he almost looks like a crabby little owl. He's about 14 pounds, and he just I just thought, oh my God, can I do this? And then the worst thing, Robert, never have a friend name your dog. I was like, well, what should I name him, Bob? And he's like, Spike. I'm like, oh, so I went with it. I don't know why I went with it. He looks far more sophisticated than a Spike, but he had, when he was little, he had sort of a mohawk of fluffy baby hair. So he's been with me ever since. He goes into work. He flies back and forth with me every time. So he's a trooper. We both joke. We're both so old that we both wake up in the morning. I look down on the floor on him. He looks up. It's like, oh, we've cheated death again. All right, let's go have a good day. Like, we both made it. Let's go for it. So yeah, he's a dear little thing. I appreciate him very much, and I appreciate he puts up with me.
I love that. I really do. Yeah, we were just going on a vacation to the south coast, and my wife actually spotted this brown dog kind of hopping along on three legs on the side of the highway. And we sort of turned around, looped back round, and then picked him up, and he had a broken leg. And anyway, long story short, we managed to get him back to London. Wow. And he had several surgeries and a lot of rehab, but he's been with us for 5 years now, and he never leaves my side.
Oh, that's, and awesome. It sounds a bit, it's not meant to sound patronizing or anything, but I think there is definitely a difference in having had an animal that we got from a breeder before, and then I think a rescue animal is a completely different experience, because I think, don't you agree? I think they know the difference. And not that you want them to be grateful, but it's almost like that bond is times 1,000 from maybe a typical animal that you might buy or get from some other purpose, and that's what I've enjoyed, is they definitely Velcro themselves to you, and they're a whole part of your soul, which hurts, it's hard. It hurts even harder, I think, when you lose them.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm not looking forward to that at all. But it's really funny though, because I have photographs of him from when we found him, right? So we, obviously we're trying to find a vet to fix him up so that we could get him back to London again. And this dog is broken, Jamie. Like, he's in so much pain, and his eyes are kind of dead. It's almost like he was right on the edge, like scarred up and everything, like bones. I mean, you could see his rib cage and everything. And then I have a picture from probably about 48 hours later, which is the day that we get him back home. And so we're setting up his crate and everything, because his leg had to be fixed with pins, and he had to be crated for like 6 months. Can you believe it? Oh, and so I'm setting up his crate, and we got like a big bed for him, and we put him in the bed, and it's like, try and keep him there while we set the crate up. And I have 2 photographs on our refrigerator, and the first one is the one from literally the day that we found him, where, broken, this dog's on the edge, all the rest of it. And then one from 48 hours later. So he's been through a lot of trauma. He's been through major surgeries, had this big sort of thing back to London. This dog is sitting in the bed, stretched out, right?
Yes.
Bright-eyed, looking up at the camera, like, the look on his face says, I've arrived. This will do.
That's right.
This will do. I've
This
gone
is
from
lovely.
living
Yes.
in an outhouse or a barn or something to a
Right.
5-bedroom.
And now he says, "I'll have a snack, please," followed by a nap. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Exactly.
And please
Yeah.
don't bother me until 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely
Isn't that
incredible.
amazing? That's
Mm.
amazing what the spirit and what, I think that's human or not. I think it's amazing. I think how much what your environment does to you, even not, of course, he being hurt, of course, but I think you whenever you move environment, human, animal, whatever, it has an immense impact on your soul and how you operate and how you feel and what you can do and what you can't do, for sure. So I love it. That's a wonderful Bailey story. And why is he Bailey?
It's because so we're in the car on the way back, and obviously we're kind of just joshing around names for him, and we just seen a dog's. Oh God, what was that movie? There was a movie that came out a few years ago with Dennis Quaid.
Oh yeah, isn't that A Dog's
Journey?
Life?
A Dog's
Life
Journey?
or
A Dog's
something
Journey.
A
Dog's Journey, and so he loses his dog when he's a young boy, but then the dog's spirit of reincarnates, and eventually his spirit goes into a dog, which older Dennis Quaid basically then I guess comes into ownership of, and then he recognizes it's the same dog from when he was a kid, and it was a big thing. He used to say to him when he did his trick where he would sort of like crouch over, and then he'd throw the stick up in the air, and the dog would jump on his back and leap into the air to catch the thing, and it was Bailey, 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 and that really stuck in my wife's head. And so I think she just really wanted to be able to say that to something, and so but he looks like a Bailey.
He does. Okay. See, that's good. Yeah.
You'll meet him in a minute.
Spike does not look like a Spike. I'm not sure. I know people were at the vet or whatever, and you'd expect some 50-pound animal, and they're like, Spike Barlett here. And, and here comes all 13 pounds of him, we're like, hi, we're here. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, who are you having this on now? Come on. Yeah.
Now, I mean, one of the nice things about hearing your story with Spike, because at the end of the day, you're visiting someone completely, distance away from where your home is. Yes. Dog wanders onto your friend's property, and there's no obligation on you to do anything about this.
No. But could have just turned him into we called around, but he didn't have a collar. He didn't have any chipping, anything. Yeah.
But it says something because then if I then sort of move that back to your business, you place a big emphasis on customer service, the customer experience, and so on. And I truly believe that the best people at that are people who have a level of, they're able to empathize, they have a level of compassion, they're able to put themselves on the other side of the fence and see things from the customer's point of view. And those are the best people at, putting together the customer journey. So I'm going to shut up now because I'm actually saying the stuff that I want you to get into. But do you think there's something to that the kind of the people that are sort of best at this whole kind of customer service deal, whatever business they're in, have to have those kind of qualities?
I think so. I think they have to have also not being afraid of having sort of an emotional connection to your customer. I think we're in a world, maybe whether you agree or not, Robert, there's sort of this very cold screen bait. I mean, here we are, we're on screens, but I think the conversation's quite lovely and warm. But, we're in a world that's, it's screens, and, you go out to places and there's children, no one sits at dinner tables and looks at anyone, everyone's on the phone. I've seen people hit by cars in San Francisco because they're walking across, Mission Street, and they get hit by, and then they look shocked, So I think we've lost that connection of looking and listening. I remember being younger and, my parents teaching me looking at somebody in the eyes, and you're engaging them and they appreciate them. And I think we've lost that art. I still say to wait staff, yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And they kind of look at you a bit shocked, and it's like, that's a hard job. I think there is a sort of, maybe the word is sort of an empathy. There is a connection. And in order to do that, you have to open yourself up to that person. And I think people are afraid of doing that. Now, I've done it before in the sales world or whatever, and people kind of, knock you away, and you have to be prepared for that. But you have to realize, I think, Yeah, and in your line of business is very personal. I mean, it's someone's look and feel and their confidence and whatnot, and you have to listen and absorb what they're telling you in order to create something for them. And I think very much you just have to be an open channel to people. And I've always learned if you let people talk and you ask them, they're going to tell you what they want. And I think that's what, on a whole, most business owners or customers just want to be heard. And I think in a world where there's all this chatter and junk communication and junk video stuff out there everywhere, I think the voice is getting lost. And then in turn, I'd like to pose a question to you, Robert, in your industry or in general, is there's I think people are exclaiming there's not a lot of loyalty anymore. Do you remember you would kind of always went to the same restaurant, or you bought your suits from the same store, or you bought your clothes or your car from the same dealership.
Yeah.
And business owners lament that there is no loyalty anymore. But I kind of wonder how to look at that, because I would say, all right, I would turn around and say it to benefit me and say, all right, well, that's why 10 years later, Robert, I still have my own first customer. I think because I would continue to take good care of them. But at the same time, I also wonder if businesses have just stopped trying, or it is because they're just comprised of these people now that don't, for whatever lack of skill, they don't have the ability to interact, to bring that brand to life. You go up to a store. I was at a dealership the other day and I serviced a car, and I was servicing a car, and the young gentleman barely looked up from me. He looked up at me. Yes. What? Hold on just a minute. Just walked off, didn't say hello, nothing. Didn't ask if I had any other questions. I thought, God, I bought a car here. I'm like, no offense. It wasn't like I bought a cup of coffee or something. So I just wonder, if I can throw it back to you, do you think it is, in fact, because the businesses, aren't like they were 30, 40, even 20 years ago, where there was this focus on a level of quality, or, is it a vice versa? What would you say?
I think it's quite a complex subject, and we could talk about this forever, right? And also, I think generationally, because now I feel like I'm getting to be like a dinosaur because I'm in my mid-40s, and I'm now starting.
Same here.
I'm starting to say things that maybe my mother or father would have said about 25 years ago. But so when So let me just share a little bit of kind of my story, my attitude to it, because I'm known for customer service. Like you, I remember the first guy that ever gave me a chance, Simon Glynn, 3rd of November 2002, first guy to give me a chance and have me measure him up. And I still remember his measurements. I remember exactly his 40 chest, 47 overarm, 33.5-inch waist, 41-inch seat. He ordered a black suit with light gray stripes, and we put a silver lining on the inside of it. I was so nervous when I was measuring him, but he has been he's still my customer today. Most of my customers have stayed with me through my entire career. I've been doing this for 20 years now. When I first got into this, I remember saying to the recruiter, because he was what kind of companies do you want to work for? And what do you want to do, and how much money do you want to make? And I said to him, put all of that aside for a second. And I was about 23, 24 years old at the time. I said, I just really love working with people. I love helping people. I love taking care of people. So find me a job where I can do that. And by the way, if it happens to be in clothing, awesome. Because I'm an art and design major, et cetera, and I'd always.
So what was their reaction? What was the face? What was the reaction?
Credit to him. He was like, okay, fine, that makes sense. And then, he put 3 opportunities in front of me, and one happened to be with a large visiting tailor that had opened in Europe at the time. But that was the third option. The first option was working in information technology, which was the sales job I'd just come out of. So he said you'd be going back into that environment again, but rather than that kind of account manager, sort of high pressure salesy type role, it's more on the marketing side. So you'll get to work with people in different parts of the business. The second one was for Stannis Stairlifts, which basically meant, so the way he sold it to me, Jamie, was like, okay, so Jamie, you will be traveling around. Okay, great. I like traveling. Okay. You will have a company car. Oh, awesome. You'll have a really high basic. Okay, well, I mean, I said put the money aside, but that's nice. Okay, great. So what am I going to be doing? You're going to be visiting elderly people and you'll be selling them chair lifts. Oh, okay. I do like helping people, but I kind of don't like, because when you're young, you don't really want to be doing that. So or I didn't anyway. So I was like, I'm not sure about that. So let's put that one to
Right.
the side. What's the third one? And then the third one happened to be in the industry that I wanted to be in anyway. But I've always come at things from a place of how can I help this person, rather than so many of the relationships, not just in my industry, but many others as well, are very, very transactional. It's all about the money first, or it's about the sale, or it's about the salesperson's commission check, or it's about the business's bottom line. Whereas for me, it's always about how can I help this person? How can I serve them to the best of my ability? And when things go wrong, what is it that I need to do to get them to a resolution in the quickest and least painful way possible, no matter what it costs to the business or to myself? And that's where I've always come from. So I was always the salesperson who would, if my boss wouldn't authorize for something to be done, or for a partial refund or something like that, I would cut the client a check from my own pocket. And my clients would look at me and they're like, why are you giving me a check for $100 or whatever it was? And I'm like,
yeah,
well, because we owe you that money, but I can't get it authorized by my boss. But you're my customer, and I need to do right by you. And they're just like, this is completely nuts. Who is this kid? Is he crazy? They're still with me today.
exactly.
When I started my own business, they all came with me. And that's an extreme example of the things that I've done. And I don't see that nowadays in many places I go to. Like I'm buying a new car at the moment, and I have had to chase and chase and chase salespeople to have an initial conversation, to try and book a test drive, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, like, what world are we living in where someone's trying to buy like a $65,000 vehicle and the customer's having to do all the chasing?
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah.
it's
They
just
should be
insane.
camped outside in front of your door. I mean, that's
especially imagining, the environment that we're in and the climate, and there's all this doom and gloom around and so on.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're their dream right there. Just coming here with, it's like you can't get people to hand you money. I mean, I don't understand that. Same in my business. I think there is a lot of the payment processing world is filled with a lot of really bad operators that are very underhanded. And like I like your talk about, with your first client and beyond, I think people don't know how to think long game. I think there, as you said, it's about a quick buck. It's about all right, I'm moving on. People, you're discarded, and you're the next thing. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And I think you have to also hire people that are going to espouse that as well. Because I think you can, that was my problem. My growing pain first few years was I knew what I wanted. I wanted to play the long game. Like I've done that. I've cut a check for customers like, the terminal they got didn't work. And our partner that was providing the product was like, well, sorry, it's 2 days out of, that happened to us, 2 days out of warranty. I'm like, come on. I mean, we've sent you how many customers? And they're like, well, sorry, it's just policy. So I cut the customer a check for, it wasn't very much, but still, I was still growing. It was like a $200 terminal for their business. And they're still with us. And because they, we realized, and people are like, well, that's eating into, as you said, your friends say, or whoever well, that's eating into your, your nut there. And it's like, no, sure, maybe they might turn around in a year and go, yeah, we're out of here. Well, I'm sorry for them, but that's not on me. That's on them. But I know I did everything I was supposed to. But the answer to that story was they're still with us. And I don't think people understand that it's not a quick process. It's a long process, and that's what you want it to be. And sometimes that's painful, and sometimes, there's so much you have to do for certain customers. And it's funny, some of our largest customers, never hear from them. They don't need anything. And some of our really small customers, and some of my team members get a little, they're like, oh, they're on the phone again. I go, hey, they're small. They don't have lots of people helping them. They're going to come to us a lot. That's what we promise them.
Mm-hmm.
So whether, sorry, you had a bad day or you're short-tempered, you've got to be there for them. And I think I am so grateful for the team that I have now. But that was my other problem in growing, was those first few years, I started to try and hire some people right out of college, Robert. And they had some sales experience and whatnot, but they literally came to the interview and they're like, all right, so I hadn't even hired them. They said, I'm going to need this off because I have to go to Coachella Music Festival. And can I work 2 days from home? And this is pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
They literally came with this list of, and they're 22 years old, had, maybe had a job in a coffee shop. And, there's an opportunity to help build a business. And they just couldn't have cared. It was all about, how is this going to benefit me? I don't really care about your mission or your customers. When do I get paid? Is there a bonus structure? And so my joke is I kissed a lot of frogs before I got to, some good prince and princesses that have worked for me now. But I think once you have that whole environment is so powerful. And I think as a business owner too, it's on you to create. I know we talked earlier about environment. Yeah. And I think environment is so important, because I think more than time and money is people's lives. If anybody can be anywhere. I mean, I know everyone has to have a job unless you live on a trust fund. Well, congratulations to you, but everybody's got to be somewhere, right? So the fact that I always think every day I'm in my office and I see my team members come in, and I realize they chose to come here. They didn't have to come here, and this is their life. I mean, the minute we're born, the clock is ticking down. And the fact that they come in there every day and they feel like they're listened to, I think that's important too, the customer service as a business owner to your own employees, right, Robert? That's another vertical of it. No wonder nobody wants to work, because no one is listening to anybody. No one wants to. It takes hard work to create an environment where you say, please come in and tell me if you have issues. Let's talk about it. Are you okay at home? Are you exhausted? What can we do? Can we get you more help? I think that's another level of it that business owners don't do. And then they just throw their hands up and go, why won't anyone work for me? Well,
yeah,
you got to look at, people are tired now. People want to come into a place where they're appreciated and they feel safe mentally and physically and things like that. And I think that's another piece to the equation that I think a lot of business owners ignore, because a happy team, I love watching them all day long. That energy gets passed along down from them to your employees to the customers, because you can hear them on the phone. Hi, welcome. It's Polypay. What can I do for you? You can feel that good feel that they have, that they like what they do. They like making a difference, and they like coming in. And that's all I could ask for. To me, that's the best part.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it's quite. You don't hear what you've just told me often enough. There's one thing that I've realized recently. I've been doing pretty much almost every single job in my business for the last 12 years that I've been going on my own, because I launched back in 2012 in my own name, 2011, sorry. And we just hired our first full-timer. She's amazing. If she's listening to this, I haven't got her editing this yet. That'll be the next thing. But Queen is absolutely superb. Like, honestly, I don't ever want to lose her. And it's something that I've had to learn. But I think one thing that has really helped is that my wife and I, we sat down and we really sort of asked ourselves and said, what's our vision here? What do we want our company to look like, and what do we want people to say about our business when they hear its name or they talk about us? And it was something, I haven't got it in front of me, but it was something like to be known as customer service, the best, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff, right? And also friendly, approachable, because those are things that a lot of our competitors are not. Now, where that's helped is that I'm a morning person in the sense that I get up at 5 a.m.
Oh, bless your heart. All right.
Right, yeah. I get up at 5 a.m. If I get up later, I feel like I've wasted the day. I'm not this. I do my best work in the mornings as well. But the problem is my engine doesn't kind of warm up till maybe about, I want to say 10 o'clock, but that's probably still too generous. It's probably about midday when I can actually deal with other human beings.
Mhm.
And obviously that's not good when my appointments start at 8 in the morning. The really powerful thing of, and fortunately I've been given a lot of rope by my clients over the years because they've known me for a long time. They know that by and large, if they're having a first thing in the morning appointment with me at 8, that they shouldn't even text message me to ask me. They should just bring me a cup of coffee.
Price of
But
admission. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
price of admission. But you can't do that with, yeah, I mean, I shouldn't be doing that with people that I've known for 10, 15, 20 years at all. You definitely can't do it with people that you're meeting for the first time. But having that kind of vision statement written down really, really helps because it puts it at the forefront of my mind, my wife and business partner's mind, our EA's mind now as well, so that it doesn't matter what's going on our side.
Hmm.
When the phone rings or
Hmm.
when the intercom goes, the buzzer goes, and a client's going to walk in, we just kind of run that mantra, that vision statement through our minds, and it's, we are open, we are friendly, we are approachable, we are here to help them, and all of a sudden all of that kind of bad juju stuff just goes out the window,
Yep. It's
and you
showtime.
smile. It's
Yes.
showtime. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Hmm.
Have you done a level or a form of that with your own organization, given that you've probably got about 300 times more the people than I have?
I don't know about that, but you mean in terms of kind of
Yeah,
level
how have you
setting,
create?
or?
Yeah, I mean, because you, like you say, it doesn't matter which. I guess it doesn't matter which of the two offices you're in. You could walk in, kind of just sit and just look at everybody working away, and just be so proud and
Hmm.
happy of the energy and the vibe that's going on. But that's come from the top. That's come from you. So
Yes.
how have you done that? How have you managed to really instill that level of enthusiasm, energy, strength, goodwill in your organization through all of your employees?
I think as I'd mentioned before, Robert, I never thought I would start a business. I'm pretty good with people. I get my energy from people, but I don't know how you are, but at the end of the day, as an introvert, I'm just I'm going to use my British slang here. I'm knackered. After that, I just sort of like the energy. I'm like, all right, I need a bit of a time to recenter. But I think when I was in the corporate world that I thought I was going to spend my 40 years in and get the gold watch and things like that, and
Mm,
just be grateful for that. I think, fortunately or unfortunately, I know everybody is supposed to be where they're supposed to be for a reason. But I think what I learned there was actually how to not be how to not be a bad boss, because unfortunately I ran through a slew of them. I felt with a few good ones peppered in there, but I did a lot of consulting work in the first few years of my official grown-up life. So it was a good thing for someone who didn't know yet exactly what they wanted to be. So it was almost like having 9 jobs over 4 years, because you'd have an engagement that would go 4 or 5 months,
yeah,
you'd move on to the next thing. So being in your early 20s, that seemed fascinating, but you also never saw anything get to fruition. But when you're young and just sort of ADD and like, what's the next cool thing? What's the next cool thing? But I went through a lot of pretty awful bosses in that at that moment of time, and I just thought, how are these people in this level of position? How are they? Am I am I the only one? I'd speak with people my age, and they're like, no, it's just, I mean, yeah, he's pretty. I mean, I could tell. I'd asked around, with different bosses I had, and everyone seemed to agree. And I thought, well, why is this okay? And I felt like helpless, that I couldn't do anything.
yeah,
You couldn't affect change. I couldn't voice my concerns. I mean, I had a boss that made me cry. I mean, that's not right. I mean, I
no,
don't think that's right at all. Oh, hi, Bailey.
sorry, he's just jumped up on me for everybody listening.
Fantastic hair. I love it.
Isn't it
Fantastic
cool?
hair. I
Goes
love
a
it.
little.
I just want
Anyways,
to. Oh.
sorry. So you,
No,
sorry, you were
no.
saying.
Just saying, I think that was one of the big tipping points for me later on down the line, when I sort of had a slightly less acerbic experience with another boss. And I just thought, the only way I can control this is to build my own environment. I thought, this is annoying. This is limiting. You felt concerned every time I walked into work. I mean, I would literally sometimes have panic attacks driving to work because I was like, I don't want to be here. And I thought, what a horrible thing. And these people probably wouldn't even care if I told them that I was having this issue. So that was really the impetus for me to start Polypay. Was I thought the only way I can control this is I know how not to be a bad boss. I know how to build. I feel like through all these years of all the bad conversations I've had, things I've witnessed in the office, I thought, I know I've pretty much at that point, if I knew anything, I thought, I hadn't even decided what kind of business I was going to do yet. I thought, I know what kind of environment I am going to build. I know how I'm going to make people feel heard. I'm always going to have my door open. I always love this quote. I forget who said it, but the thing about being a good boss is hiring people smarter than you and letting them do their job. Yeah. And I think that's the big thing for me is you don't know everything. You have to keep learning. And even people who are more junior, I love it. I miss them when I'm in Columbus. I miss my California team because we were always, even during the pandemic, always there, always, safely in person. But there's an energy to that problem solving, and we'd all come in and, a call would come in or a customer has an issue. And, even more junior people will have a great idea. I go, well, hell, I've been in business 8 years or something. I didn't think of that. But that's the beauty. I mean, and if someone feels comfortable to be in an environment like that, who's only been there for a short amount of time and they volunteer something, I go, I love that. That means they feel safe. They feel engaged. Their mind is percolating. That's exactly what I want. So forgive me for a long answer there, Robert, but I think that was the impetus. The journey for that was my own bad experiences and my promise to myself and the rest of my employees that I would never let them walk into an environment like that ever. And I ask them every week, every day, are you happy? Is everything okay? And they're like, Jamie, stop. Okay, we're fine. I go, I know, but it's for me. I want to ask. Yeah. It's, and very rarely they're like, oh, I'm a little overworked. I mean, as soon as I heard that, all right, we got an assistant. Well, just tell me that. All right, we need an assistant then. Okay. And they were so thankful. They're like, oh God, thank you. Like I can hand over 25% of what I'm working on or whatever. So that was the big thing for me. That's probably one of the, outside of just customer support, that's probably my number one thing I want to make sure is a consistent thing every single day of not only my life, but of my team members' lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other reason you've been so consistent from where I'm sitting for the last decade with that, because very often people start a business with good intentions and I'm not going to be like my former boss and I'm going to our product's going to be much better, we're not going to be ripping people off, etc. But then it kind of lasts for maybe a year or two, and then suddenly they become the very thing that they were trying so hard not to be. And I think because you're obviously so highly aware every day of the some very horrible experiences that you went through as an employee, I'm guessing that's what's keeping you on the straight and narrow, if I can use that term.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I think so. Because I think any normal person could just turn around and lament and turn it about themselves, right? I mean, they'd have every right to do that. You can be that woe is me, very bitter. I mean, that's one thing I pray I'm never in. I have met so many bitter people in my life. And I feel sad because that's the worst than being angry, depressed. I think bitter is such a horrible emotion. And I just promised myself that I was just going to take this as ammo and I was going to turn it around and make it into something positive. But yeah, it's a work every day. When you're exhausted and you're like, sometimes I'm like, all right, I don't want to have to ask anybody about their day, or why hasn't somebody asked me about my day, or something like that. And you have to I realized with that first employee I hired, it was almost like you went through 9 months of pregnancy and you're like, here's your child. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for somebody. Like, I remember the day it hadn't even crossed my mind. I extended the offer to the first employee and they signed, like, great, I'll see you Monday. And then I literally had sort of a mini panic attack. And I thought, oh my God, I'm responsible for somebody else. I mean, I'm like, it was that whole weekend, like my heart raced. I thought, oh my God, all right, we have to set this up and that up, and I have to make sure they get paid because I do all of that. It kind of sounds like for you too. You're the jack of all trades for all kind of the operational things, right? I do payroll and rent and invoices, and I send out checks for our referral partners. I mean, like it all stops here for me, but I own that. I want that. But it's, it's some days when you're just like, God, I don't want to ask. And you're like, no, you must, you've got to keep that path. Everybody has to feel like they're a part of the team. So yeah, some days lesser than others, but yes.
I love
consistency.
Yeah, I love that, taking on a new employee and likening it to a very short 9-month pregnancy, because it's like, I'm not a parent, sadly, but
no, but I have lots of children. Bailey.
I am a parent. Yeah.
Yes.
4 of them.
Yes.
You kind of get the news that you're pregnant, and then you've got that period of time, that lead-in time to prepare the nursery, prepare this, prepare that, go to parenting classes or whatever it is that you lot do. Whereas, probably same as you in the example you gave, we interviewed, even before we interviewed her, right? We had all of the CVs in front of us on a Monday, the resumes on a Monday, and we saw her name, right? Amongst a bunch, it stood out. Her first name is Queen.
Love it.
My wife and I just looked at each other and we were just like, okay, she's 90% hired just on the basis of her name, right? And as it turned out, the moment she stepped in for interview, we both were trying to stop looking at each other or kicking each other or giggling or whatever, because we were just like, no, she's the one. She's the one.
Yeah.
She's awesome. And then it was kind of like next day we were like, we'd like to make an offer to, and then it was accepted. She accepted immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then she had a start date of the following Monday. So I only have 3 working days to set everything, her email, phone, this, that, everything else. And I remember just not getting any sleep that week whatsoever. But it was literally like, okay, you want to hire someone? Great. And then them handing you a little bundle and saying, right, there you go.
Yes. Yeah. Here's the stork with your employee. And I'm like, oh, dear God, I'm not prepared
for this. That's it. The stork flies in with your new employee and you're like, oh, holy shit. I had no time. Sorry. I had to clean rating out the window. But right? I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just suddenly thought, almost like you were responsible for even feeding them as well. And you're like, oh my God. And that's a big thing for me too. I'm like, lots of snacks in the office. It's funny. I think, our California office, I have to be pretty proud of that, but everybody seems to love our office. Even I remember one day where we've been in this office for about 5 years, and it's very comfortable and there's lots of comfy chairs. And there's always, that's my advice. There's lots of candy, there's snacks, there's games, there's toys, there's magnetic letters on the fridge. There's chalkboards and stuff, you can draw and do stuff when you have and I just remember the UPS guy, our parcel delivery man came in one day, and he'd been coming in for about a month or 2. And he just said, this looks like a really fun office. I'd like to work here. What do you guys do? Obviously he liked his job, but I thought that must be a good sign, for a gentleman that goes in hundreds of offices every day. And he's just like, this feels and looks like a really fun place. And I thought, I'll take that as a vote of merit there, that, I'm sure he's seen a lot. So I thought it was funny that even in his busyness, he was moved to comment on it. So I thought that's good. I think, all right, I got myself a check mark there.
Oh, 100%. I can give you an affirmation or a testament to that, because I obviously go into a lot of people's offices because part of my service is visiting particularly busy clients or people who just can't be bothered to sort their clothes out. And so I do see a lot of offices, and I know one of my clients, David Turner, they moved to a new office, and the way they kitted it out, his assistant took me on a tour the first time I stepped in there. But that, they got like a great music playlist going on in the background. There's plants everywhere. There's, they've got a bar, they've got a barista serving coffee as you come in. They have a utility room with washing machines and tumble dryers and a little mini gym. And like I said to his EA, I said, that flat that apartment you've been having problems with, you should just give that up and just live here, like Tom Hanks in The Terminal.
Yes.
Just live here. I want to live here. I want to work here as well. I think I'm going to quit tailoring and I'm going to go into real estate instead. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But that's the point, right? You create an environment, because this is so now post-pandemic, this is the challenge that a lot of employers are finding, is that a lot of younger people coming into the workforce want quote unquote work-life balance. By the way, anyone who's young that's listening to this right now, trust me when I say this, there is no such thing as balance in your life. You're always unbalanced in some area, okay? So get that idea out of your head straight away.
The fulcrum is never perfect. No,
it's never perfect. But they're sort of like, we're interviewing these kids, and they don't really want to be in the office. They want to find out how they can work from home 3 days a week or 4 days a week, or just be completely remote, which is a problem depending on the type of business that you're in. And I use my client David's office as an example. I say, if they like being at home so much, you need to create an environment that is more fun than what they've got there. Now, luckily, we've had an energy crisis swoop in, so I've been warning all my clients, you've cut your desk space at your offices. All the young people are going to be in the office this fall because they're going to want to switch their heating off at home.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So
exactly.
If you're going to be really skeptical, you say the energy crisis was actually engineered to get people back to the office.
There you go.
But anyway, going back to the serious point. But again, you've done the right thing. You've created a stimulating environment that your employees obviously love being in, and also more than that, it's an environment that it sounds like they can thrive in as well. I want to move to Ohio or California and come work for you.
That would be a bit of a change, I'm sure, for you. I think a little less cosmopolitan, but yeah, I love it, and I just like when I go in there. And we even have couches that kind of fold out even into bed. So I know years ago, a few of my employees, when the girlfriend was not pleased with him or something, he's like, "I'm going to sleep in the office." I'm like, "Great, that's fine. I just don't want any children created in my office. That's all I'm asking here. I'm not responsible. I'm not a godmother to anything that was procreated in the office. Thank you." But I think that's very much, I love going into work. I love that everyone does. And I think that's when I'm shocked by the level of people that just, your business very much has to be it's an in-person thing. And it's the same thing for us because, we go and see how they operate, see what they need. It's a very intimate business because you're talking about someone's financial well-being and their plan. And I joke, I always liken it to, it's like you're lifting up someone's skirts, and you're looking in there and going, seeing this is what we've got to work with. This is what we have to fix. So we were always an in-person. We were kind of one of those critical, necessary businesses. So we were always kind of allowed to operate, which I'm grateful for, because I've talked with many business owners that, again, like you said, are struggling to have people kind of, I saying jokingly, come back to school, go back to in person. And it's like the people I've been at a few networking events this past week. People have absolutely lost their social skills.
Yeah,
the people are very awkward, and I go, "Hey, I'm an introvert. This is hard enough for me being here, but people just don't know how to carry a conversation anymore." And it's, I think it's almost too why there's been a huge growth of the podcast. It's like somebody's social life almost sometimes, a bit too. People don't want to talk, but they don't mind listening to other people talk. So however people get their information, that's great. But I just find it very interesting. Yeah, there's been a lot of regression in people's social and interpersonal skills. And I just wonder what that's going to look like. And I wonder how that's affected, I have friends with small children where they haven't been in school for a long time. I wonder what that's going to do ideally, but thankfully no children, just Spike. So I don't have to worry about that. And he's been very social, so I'm all good.
Awesome. Yeah. And as you can see, this one generally just won't leave me alone. I know you've been on just about every podcast episode, haven't you? Shut up. I'm talking to Jamie. Okay. I need to find some more stuff out about her. So payment processing.
Very sexy. Yes. Very sexy. Yes.
Extremely. But the thing is, right. So we up until about 2 months ago had the same terminal that we started with back in 2011.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We never see anybody in person from the payment processing industry in this country. Not one. The only reason we upgraded is because I started to realize that post-pandemic, you're starting to go back into restaurants and coffee shops and stuff. And they put the machine in front of you And I'm like, oh, wow, this is, why is this like 200 times more sophisticated than the thing that we have that's still from the noughties, right? And
Yes.
so I called them up and I said, we haven't had a review on our rates and stuff for since we started. I'm still using the same terminal from when we started. I mean, have things moved on? Have things changed? Talk to me. And we got put on to much better rates because of the amount of payments that we take and stuff. And they've sent us this terminal that is amazing. It does Apple Pay, and you can email customers receipt,
Contactless. Yeah.
all contactless. You can build mailing lists and all this other stuff and put products on it and so on. And I can't remember why I've just got into that sort of rabbit sort of thread with you. How have you? So here's my point. I don't know if what I've just described about the UK payment processing industry rings any bells with maybe how it is over in the States. Your business is obviously very unique in that regard because it's very personal. You've said that it's very in person as well. You really get your sleeves rolled up and get on your knees and get in the dirt with your customers.
Mm-hmm.
How are you getting that message out to the marketplace in order to attract new customers? Because in my mind, your formula should be one where just about anybody who uses payment processing systems wants to use Polypay. Why would they look at anybody else? So how are you kind of doing on the marketing side of things and,
right. Yeah,
and getting that message out?
Yeah, I think we do a lot of, social media. We do a lot of, I'm not very good at that, so I've got someone to help me with that. But a lot of social media. We're very fortunate that we have a lot. In fact, some of our out-of-state customers from where we are, there's a lot of, I know better than, I'm sure you would agree, like a customer referral. We get a lot of customer referrals. So I know that I always tell them we'll treat your referral with, utmost care, because that's somebody not only is your customer, but they've also putting their relationship with that individual on the line to say, I promise that they will do. So those I'm very grateful for. And like they're a VVVIP in my world because somebody has put that notion out. But I think answering about the difference between what's going on in UK versus here, unfortunately for us, or unfortunately and unfortunately, is this industry. There's so many operators. This is such a choked industry here. Because we're a bit different. We're a true sales organization. There's a lot of people running around on the street here that are just agents. So they're just selling on behalf of some of these very big. And so they don't give a crap. They're just about closing the deal, moving. And again, you'll never see them again. Some of the worst operators for us are actually the banks themselves, which is a bit depressing because they want to keep everything in house for them, but they don't have the bodies to do the customer support. So these people are kind of left hanging in the wind. But I think our best we do is we do a lot of social media. We just, we ask for referrals. We get a lot of referrals. I think the big thing for us is probably people think we're smaller and they just think maybe we can't handle. But I mean, we handle multi-million-dollar a month businesses. It's not a problem for us. Everybody gets the equal support. And, I've got a gentleman that repairs typewriters still, and he does maybe $600 a month. Well, he's going to get the same level of support as this massive winery we have that does $1 to $2 million a month in processing for their wine club. So it's been a hard road because it's an industry where as soon as you say what you do, they're like, oh God, I can see the pain on their face. And I go, please listen, I know it sounds trite. We're the antithesis of that. We're just going to do the right thing. We're going to take care of you. I've had employees that were biking at a concert, asleep, so on a trip. And, we take calls 24 hours a day, and that's just what you have to do. So I think majority has been just really trying to push over the years above that noise of these big operators and I just tell them, I say, give me 15 minutes. That's all I need. And I love my industry because my goal is to not cost you anything. I'm here to save you money. So you're literally almost not purchasing anything from me. I'm literally here to cut what you're paying right now. So you would think there would be people falling all over that offer. And there are most times there are, but there's just a lot of people that just don't believe it. They're just so burnt from, years and years of bad experience that, and then you run into people who think they know everything about the industry, a small business. And sometimes they're quite well versed, But when you start to uncover and peel away the layers of the onion and they realize how much they've been taken advantage of, or they thought they could read a statement and they can't, as I say, you get the good, bad, and the ugly. There's the elated person. There's the, interestingly educated. And then sometimes we get some very angry, there's my word again, bitter people go, I can't believe this. And I go, look, I'm sorry that happened to you, but that's in the past. Please, let's just go focus on the forward and how we can fix today, next day, the day after that for them. So that's probably the biggest road for us to hoe, is undoing all of that bad, negative, it's like somebody getting out of a really bad toxic relationship and believe that don't believe there's a way out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it sounds to me from everything that we've talked about today, that in terms of any kind of growth plan for the future, it's really, you're more keen on keeping your foundations in place and your principles in place and staying true to who you are, and then kind of just let the business do what it's going to do, as long as you're kind of doing the the
and I think I think about it every day wherever my mom is floating around. She told me a line many years ago, and she said, only you can take your reputation away.
Yeah.
It's nobody else. So I think I live by that tenet every day, is you just have to take it. Yes, you have to look long term, but you just have to take every day at a time, because it's amazing. I'm sure you would agree how fast life goes, especially, God, the older you get. My God, I can't believe it's November. Hello. But I think, it's amazing. You'll think when you look at it at a day by day circumstance, you're like, God, this is just going to drag on forever. It's amazing as those days, each day is a brick that you're building. And I think it's amazing when you look back and you go, God, I built that. And I was just focusing on that next day, that first week, that whatever. And I'm immensely proud and immensely happy. And I think you have to love what you do too. And you have to believe in it. And there's a lot of business owners, I think maybe you would agree, Robert, that they think they have to be an entrepreneur. Like everybody, I think that burned out of the pandemic. A lot of people obviously had time to sit at home and think about whether they liked what they did or not, which is great. They should be having those conversations. Yeah. But I think with the advent of social media, making it look so fantastic and amazing, and I'm sure you'd agree, there's a lot of ugly days versus good days too. Mm-hmm. And everybody's just showing that good glossy, there's someone on the phone and, what's it, snapping checks and snapping necks and cashing checks and all this, whatever silly nonsense.
The whole kind of girl boss and, all this kind of stuff.
Oh God, please don't. Oh, that boss babe, I can't. Oh God, that's one way to make me walk away from you quickly. But, I think they just thought everyone thought they had to have a business. And I think they're just picking things, there's people working from home selling makeup products or this or that. And then they're wondering why they don't like it. It's like, do you really believe in it? Did you just think you had something you had to do? Did it look cool on Instagram? Did someone sell you? I mean, you have to pick I'm pleased with myself because not only the structure I put around myself for my business, but I figured out essentially the problem I was going to solve. You were going to go and fix really horrible, suits. And maybe we can talk about how bad Henry Cavill looked at that premiere yesterday. That man should not wear double-breasted suits.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I was going to tailor the talk in the direction of, you can finish your point and then I'll get you there.
No, I think people just, they think, and I had that problem too initially, like you hang your shingle out and you start your business, you're like, all right, everybody come on in. It's like, that's not how this works. Not only do you have to convince somebody to come into your store or whatever place of business. For me, I feel a little comfy in that, there's a bit of money exchanging hands, but mostly I'm here to save you money, which is great. But you have to convince people not only come in, like what you do, but actually exchange money for what you're offering. And I don't know why people think that is, somebody's just going to magically appear and they're going to be here and all your problems are going to be solved and your rent's paid. No, I think you have to fundamentally figure out the problem you're going to solve. And are you passionate about it? Otherwise, don't do it. Don't do it. And that's why there's serial entrepreneurs, right? Kind of like Wade you had on before. Like they know when they're done with this project has come to an end. And if you're listening to your head and your heart and you're ready for the next thing, close the door on that one and move on. Don't keep trying to resuscitate something, because the worst thing you can do is wasting not only your money, but your time. This life is very short and people should really be cognizant of that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Definition of insanity and all of
Hmm.
that as well. So you have an office in Ohio, and you have another one in California. And one thing I've heard a lot from my East Coast clients, the impression I now have is that people in California just walk around in pajamas all day,
Oh,
drinking smoothies and eating sushi. But what's it really, really like out there from a fashion point of view?
it's terrible. It's awful. It's the problem is the what is the phrase, Robert? The athleisure has taken over, I think, from the pandemic as well. And bless the women that
Yeah.
can wear that all day long. God bless you. You know, Lululemon's made a killing here from overpriced see-through tights. I'm sure men love that, and women, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But it's just terrible. It's I am very much, as I said, grew up watching. My mother always dressed spectacularly. I mean, and people don't even dress on planes, Robert. Like when I fly, I always have something nice on, a collared blouse, something nice, slacks. I mean, something. My mom used to make this joke. We'd get on a plane and you'd see. I mean, I remember once we got on a plane and a guy had his things in a trash bag and put them above. And my mother turned to me and she said, if we don't go down, I don't want my bones mixed with these people. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, I had a dad, three-piece suit. He's a very tall, big man. He was a banker, and 6'5", 300-pound man. He had and I have all of his suits. I've kept everything, and I have to figure out what to do. I used to steal his waistcoats and wear them to school, like with the blouse, and people are like, what the hell why are you dressed like that? But he'd do French cuffs and tie pins, and when he would travel, he would literally, Robert, put tissue paper in each of the sleeves of his suit so that he would minimize his wrinkling and traveling and things like that. And it's just, there's no pride of appearance. And this pandemic has just made it a mess. I mean,
Exacerbated
people
it,
don't
yeah.
even comb their hair. I mean, these girls just put it in a knot. And I go, what if this is the last day of your life? What if you get hit by a bus and this is, they're going to bring you out in the corner and this is what you look like? I go, I can't. No. There's so many, I'm sure you agree, good and bad designers out there, but they're out there and you just have to figure out your own style. And I think a lot of men and women just read what's popular and go, that's for me. And it's like I said, he doesn't know it yet, but future husband, Henry Cavill, one of your imports, they just see something and they think, oh, that should work for me. No, you have to figure out your style and you have to look and you have to be, do you feel comfortable in it too? And I see so many men and women, they look so uncomfortable and when they do try and dress up or wear something. And I don't like this fast fashion or these trends with these little tiny purses and things, and then these bags across the, they wear across the chest. I go, what? A nice briefcase, something like, please, something timeless. You'll spend less money. Yeah, you may put front towards a quality piece. You can wear a good suit for a good few years if you take good care of it. I mean, I just don't understand it. So forgive me. I get a bit emotional about it. But yes, it's a long answer to your question. It's terrible in California.
Yeah,
Terrible.
it's the whole athleisure. I mean, we even in our sort of pattern books now, we even have a drawstring waistband feature. Yeah, I know. But what I've been saying to people, because people will argue and say, well, now we're in a different world of work and the world's changed and hybrid this and blah blah blah. And the suit's dead. The suit's not dead, actually. I think it's still the gold standard. I'll tell you a story. So during the pandemic, so we had new neighbors move in across the road. So they didn't know us. And they'd never seen me in a suit because pandemic happens, my business shuts down. So I'm at home a lot of the time. And then I basically, just to keep myself busy while I kind of tried to figure it out, I was doing Deliveroo, Uber Eats, I was basically delivering pizzas and stuff, whatever. And after a few weeks, some of my clients got in touch and said, listen, we're buying stuff online, casual stuff online. Can you make any of it? Because you have my measurements and, none of this stuff fits me. And I was like, yeah, there's no reason why I can't. So I started to go out to see clients at home. It's kind of weird doing appointments like that where they're stood in their front door and you're in their front garden or their driveway and, like from here, socially distanced and all of that. But I had to, started to dress the way that I normally do, 3-piece suit, tie pin, cufflinks, blah. I'm just getting the car ready, and I hear whistling from across the street, and like my neighbors all hanging out the windows, and wolf whistling, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with you lot? And they were like, wow, you look absolutely amazing. And I was like, but I dressed like this. Nobody's seen me dressed like this because you all
Right.
moved in post when COVID
Right.
started. And I kind of drove off with a huge smile on my face. God knows how I fit my head in the car. But I thought to myself, do you know what? When you want to really look your best as a guy, the suit is still the gold standard. And I think it always will be.
Absolutely.
But one thing, so what I say to people who are like, well, I don't have to wear a suit because of what I do or whatever, and I said, fine, you don't have to wear a suit or you don't even want to. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you know, I'm talking more and more to people about considered dressing. At least look like you thought about what you put on in the morning before you
Yes.
walked out the door. Because taking
Yes.
pride in your appearance means you take pride in what you do. And if you're going to
Yes.
see a potential new client or an important customer, you might be managing the payment processing systems at their business. You might be their wealth manager or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You need to look like you care about details
Yes.
at whatever
100%.
level.
100%.
So, you know, I think personal presentation's important. But and obviously it should reflect who you are and you should be comfortable and all the rest of it, but at least look like you freaking thought about it.
Yes. 100%.
And it wasn't an afterthought. So
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I agree. I agree. And there's a lot of great I've had some suits made. There's a lot of great women tailors coming up and coming too, which is fantastic. And you can play it up. Why not? I mean, I've worn ties before, and you know, sometimes you put some nice, but like I've worn sometimes sneakers underneath them just for fun or something like that. I mean, there's a way to dress it up. But yeah, I just love it, and I feel great in a suit. And I see a lot of men when I see. I mean, it's a visual thing. You see men in suits, I'm immediately, I've been at events where I'm completely ignoring who I'm talking to because there's someone in like a seersucker suit over there that was at a summer party. I'm like, I'm not taking my eyes off you. I mean, it is. I mean, I think people should take advantage of it's another tool in your chest, whether you're in sales or anything else, you're looking to date, something like that. I don't care what you say. So you're going to stand out. And I think who wouldn't want that? Absolutely.
Yeah. I use a Vespa, a scooter, to get around some days as well. Some of my friends call me Bruce Wayne because I have any number of different types of vehicles I use to get about, and I dress really well as well. But there was this one time recently, and this actually kind of generally happens a lot anyway. But so I'm on the Vespa, you know, kind of looking like some brown version of Cary Grant without any hair from Roman Holiday or whatever. And I pull up outside this client's office, but there's nowhere to park. So I just kind of sling it outside on the pedestrian thing where I'm not supposed to, but I just needed to run in to drop something off for him. So I get off the scooter, but I'm listening to a podcast and it's almost finished. So I'm kind of just standing there take my helmet off, and I'm just kind of organizing myself or whatever. And this lady, she's from across the road with her dog. She runs across. I've got my AirPods in. I can't hear a word she's saying, but she's gesticulating wildly, and you know, her mouth is kind of going at 100 miles an hour. And I thought, okay, she's telling me off for parking where I've parked. No need to use any energy that we don't need to use. So I take my AirPods off and I said, I'm so sorry. I could not hear a word you were saying. Tell me. She said, I was saying to you, I just had to run over from across the road to tell you that the Vespa, the suit, your combination, the tie, all of it, you look amazing. I just had to tell you that. You made my day.
And I love it.
And then she walked off.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
I just kind of said after her, you just made mine.
Right. Here you were ready for a dressing down, and it was because you got dressed up.
Yeah. But you see, you know, because men really make jokes when they shouldn't, because we're idiots most of the time. And, I get a lot of my clients saying, oh, like people must think you're overdressed everywhere you go and so on. I'm just like, dude, I have women crossing the road to tell me that I look amazing.
Right.
Wouldn't you want that?
Don't you? Yeah. Don't you want that for yourself? 100%.
Yeah. So one good thing about the pandemic is it's actually made me stand out even more. But there's, for someone to come over and tell you that, you look amazing or that you made their day or whatever.
Especially in this day and age, yes.
Yeah, exactly. With all this misery going on around. So it just makes me want to, just continue to dress up every single day, apart from like you see me today. I'm so sorry. Next, if we do this again, I will, I promise. I've been to your website. In my mind, you're right. You're already dressed like that. So yes, of course I went to your website. Are you kidding me? Yes. While you're listening to my podcast, all you have to do is just have the cover image on display in your screen.
Yes.
So yeah. I'm just conscious of time, Jamie, but you lot check out polypay.com, especially my listeners in the States, because there are loads of you now, which is really cool. And thank you so much as well. I really appreciate. Yeah, it really is. But thank you so much. I always ask everybody, so have you had fun today?
I've had an amazing time. Thank you so much. This made my day. Thank you. I've been looking forward to our conversation for a long time, and it was everything I hoped and more. So thank you.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I hope that we can do this again. It was just so great to get your insight, and also for me, it was like affirmation that the things that I've been doing for so many years are, the way that your attitude to customer service and so on is exactly in line with everything that I've always believed in and will continue.
Oh, lovely! That's good to hear. Thank you. Good to hear.
You're absolutely welcome. So polypay.com is where people need to head to if they're thinking. Yes. Hey, this sounds awesome. Like, I'm not getting service like that right now.
No, my terminal's 10 years old. Something like that. Yeah, anything like that. If you haven't had a phone call for a while, maybe it's time to have a chat.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you so much. Jamie, I wish you all the best. Please keep in touch.
Yes, thank you.
And hopefully we will be able to do this again. Hey, maybe I could give you an episode where you can be the host of Tailoring Talk, and then I can be your guest, and you can just ask me whatever you want about clothes.
I'd love it. Yes, I'd love it. Oh, a dream. I'd love it. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. And thank you all so much for joining Jamie and I on this episode. Don't forget that Tailoring Talk is now on Instagram at Tailoring Talk Podcast. And I love feedback, so you can also email the show directly at tailoringtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review. You can also click the share button in your player to send the show on to people you know. And if you're enjoying Tailoring Talk and feel compelled to throw some change our way and support the show, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Roberto Revilla. Have a great week, and I'll see you on the next one.